simply being able to sit and say, well, I don't really want that, is not really part of the job. You have to get your hands dirty a little bit and get in and say, look, this is the direction we need to go. You have to have a vision for where the city needs to go in the future and how to get yourself there. That, to me, is my role as a commissioner. Putting a plan together, making sure
You know, 10 years, $100,000 a year, you're talking $1 million. And I just don't see where that we can recoup that $1 million in 10 years.
Mr. Rossiter, it's your turn again. As a commissioner, what is your plan for upgrading and maintaining the water distribution plant?
I've been to the plant several times. I was at the plant when it was in intolerable condition. To upgrade and clean up the plant has come a long way in the last 2 years since it was brand new. And when it was brand new, it was allowed to be able to run down and be non-efficient. In other words, water was running in one.
itself is really the problem. The plant, as Commissioner Rosser pointed out, is in pretty good shape. There are things that need to be done still to keep the plant at the level it's at now, where we don't go back into a regressive state that we were in, obviously. But the big problem now is our water lines. We've got lines in the city of Cushing. I've been told they're 100 years old, 75. When I moved here 25 years ago, 26, they were talking about how bad the water lines were then. We still have those lines in the ground. We need to have an aggressive plan over the next 5 to 10 years to begin replacing those lines rather than just putting Band-Aids on them. We've been Band-Aiding things and they break here, we fix it 10 feet down.
Mr. Rowe, how would you evaluate and prioritize the most important needs for the city of Cushing?
Well, that's something you have to look and work with the current city manager and the heads of the departments. I think the first thing would be to direct the city manager to have his heads of department identify their top 5 needs. If you have a top 5 need, then you can begin placing those items in a list, and all the commissioners can look at them and identify items that are the highest priority. Knock those things that aren't quite as important down a little bit. They're not going to fall off the list because they're important to the separate directors of those departments. They're on their top 5 for a reason, but you have to start somewhere with a list, and that's where I would.
That were given to them. It's kind of a chance for you four to just sit down with me for 10 minutes, and if there's any questions that you felt that you need to
If you don't hire an economic developer to be part of the staff of the city, there are opportunities out there to outsource those things to contract people. And an economic developer brings so much to the table as far as being able to promote your city. They are your cheerleader. Basically, and they're going to go out to those companies and corporations, and we both touched on it, Mr. Rosser and I both, and I really think that is the future. And municipalities now are doing that, and they're providing that as basically like utility, like your electric and your water, and the internet just is part of it. It's an added cost that is picked up in the tax base, and but then everyone has access to the internet, and the world is online now. It's it's not 1970, it's not 1980. I mean, it's 2015, and the world is huge now, but it's so small too. And if you can get everyone connected, more ideas flow. It's also an avenue for the citizens to glean information on the city that they live in. You know, it's a portal for them to reach out and say, okay, well, what's going on at the city council meeting? Let me just click right here and I'll watch it. We have a channel now that's on local cable TV. If you have Dish or one of those, you can't get that channel. You know, it's unfortunate. We need to have another avenue where we can go and, you know, city website, if that's what it is, and you click an applet and it starts up. But if you provide those things, those tools to the people, you're going to have happier citizens for one, but they're going to be more connected to the city and the world around them. It's tough to measure what the impact of that is if you don't have it. But I've seen Enid and I've seen Ponca City. My brother actually lives in Ponca City, and it's amazing to go there and everyone is connected. And I think that's it's the direction we need to go. Another thing I didn't really get to talk about too much was infrastructure. I mean, we talked briefly about the water department. The water plant is in good shape. We need to do what we need to do to keep it going. But water lines and sewer lines, we have to get our 5 and 10 year plan going to start replacing those things. These lines are 75 to 100 years old. Folks have been complaining about them for a quarter of a century or more. And here we sit and we still have the same lines in the ground. And it's not a cheap fix, but it's a necessary fix. If your city ever is going to grow, you have to have infrastructure. City streets are another big thing. Mr. Thompson, when he was talked about the almost 65 miles of paved streets we have in the city of Cushing. We do 2 miles of paving a season. That's unacceptable. It'll take us 30 years, more than 30 years, to do that entire section of road. It's unacceptable. Make a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. Put it in rotation. Put in regular patching. There are programs out there that you can do where we patch cracks. Do the maintenance and upkeep to make your road stretch a little longer. You don't have to repave everything, but you have to be a little more aggressive. Reporting those issues back, we have to have some accountability. I know that our city workers, they work hard, but they need a blueprint to follow, and that comes from the top down. The commission directs the city manager. I mean, they hire him. They have the power to hire and fire the city manager, and they direct him. That's the way the system is set up. City manager hires the folks that work for him, the department heads. He is in control of all those hires. He needs to find people that are accountable and provide them with the tools, whether that's training on how to lead a department. There are training courses out there that are available. Find them training. Find them people that they trust, to work for them. And the blueprint comes out. You do this much work over this much time. Either you're above your goal or you're below your goal. And either way, you have to know why. You have to set up a goal, and every year, the company I work for, we do yearly goals. At the midpoint of the year, we have a review. Where are you at on your goals? Have you met those goals? Are you on course to meet your yearly goals? And if you're not, you can make a course correction there at the mid-year point and say, okay, well, this is the direction we need to go to meet the stated goal that is out and published, and that is accessible to the public. The public needs to be able to come and say, well, your goal is to pave 4 miles of road this year. Where are you at? You're 6 months in. Well, we've done about a mile. Well, you're behind. So, I mean, it has to be transparent. You have to be able to see everything that goes on in your city. And a lot of folks feel like they're detached from that. Because, frankly, they don't come to the city council meetings. It's an open meeting. Yeah, absolutely. And it's televised on TV. Absolutely. But you have to reach out into the public and put yourself out there and give them answers. You know, if you open a forum up and they don't come, okay, but you give them a chance. You know, and it's not, a lot of people aren't comfortable coming to a city council meeting and getting on the agenda. They don't know the whole process for getting on the agenda before you go up to talk, and you know, that's a process. You have to give them different options. You know, people need options. So I just think that, you know, the biggest thing for me is I want Cushing to be a place, like I said in my opening, the place where people want to be. You know, when I moved here, I wanted to be here. My family wanted to be here. That's why we came originally. And when I had a family of my own, I looked around. I wanted to come back to Cushing. I wanted to be here. You know, and I want to serve here. I want to serve the people of the community. But I want everyone to have the same thing I had, the same opportunities, the same vision, I guess, for the city. You know, make it a place that's safe. We've got a great safety center, and we don't have enough officers to fill it. We're short on police. You know, the district attorney comes over, she says, hey, you have a drug problem in the city of Cushing. Yeah, we don't have enough officers. I mean, it's that simple. You know, we don't have enough officers to patrol the areas that we need to patrol. And those things need to be rectified. You will never have a city people want to come to if there's a large amount of crime. If the water doesn't work, if the electric doesn't, I mean, those are things that people just, they won't come. They don't want to be here if that's the way it's going to be. And we have an opportunity to address that. We have an opportunity to make those funds available. We just need to do it. You know, there are a lot of taxes out there that are collected for things that we don't pay for anymore. There's a hospital tax that's collected, 2/3 of a cent. It's supposed to go to the hospital to improve it. Except we now have leased that out. We don't have that expense anymore. So where's that 2/3 of a cent going? We can direct that to other places. And we need to have the courage to do it. I mean, that's what it comes down to for me. You know, service and have courage to make the tough decisions. And that's where I'm at.
Is there anything else that you'd like to touch on? Or?
You know, I think that's it for me.
Okay.
I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate yours. And we'll have our next our next candidate here in a minute. Which would be Mr. Rossiter. Come on now, Mr. Rossiter. Have a seat. Same for you, Mr. Rossiter. Is there anything that you would like to expand on that you feel on some of these questions that you weren't able to fully complete your train of thought, or how you felt about something, or maybe not even one of the questions? Maybe it might be something that you would like the viewers at home to know, the voters to know, that what you feel is important about being a city commissioner that none of the questions touched on tonight.
Well, can I just say I draw a blank?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
64 years old. I don't have the young brain that, you know, that Trace would have. You know, I got to have my notes and stuff.
Right.
But, you know, there was a few questions that was brought up tonight. One of them, you know, the hot topic is, do we really need an ED? And, you know, that's a tough question. Like I said, I've been to a lot of different towns, and different towns the size of Cushing. Get back, and this has nothing to do with an economic developer. It has to do with economic, period. The economy of Cushing, the response that I always get is, well, Cushing is a booming. $70,000 a year. That's why you see more restaurants going up in Stillwater than what you see in Cushing. They also have a national database. It's called expendable income. And this is what they really weigh heavily on before they'd even consider moving to a small town of Cushing, Oklahoma, is they go to the national. People that live in Cushing are purchasing in Stillwater, Tucumcari, New Mexico, Miami, Florida, Anchorage, Alaska, wherever they're purchasing from, it all goes into a national database. So these corporations, small margin of expendable income, I'm going to open up a business in Cushing, Oklahoma and try to capture that little bit of a piece of the pie. So it has nothing to do with an economic developer. Believe me, I've been on the commission for 9 years, dealt with people that in the industrial authority and different places tried to bring people to town, and they keep getting hit the same thing. Day after day after day. Every company, Cushing is a boom and bust town. And so therefore they don't want to invest in Cushing. Why do you think most of our businesses in Cushing are privately owned, mom and pop stores? We don't have that many large industrial, we have taken them over. We're mowing and maintaining. Them, taking care of them, but like I said before, I feel like that the city could say thank you to Mr. Smith over here because he wants to build he wants to invest $80,000 in this house that's worth, $120,000. Between two houses is worth $30,000. And if he's willing to come in and spend that kind of money to build a house in that little plot of land, I feel like the city should be. Chance on sitting on that house for months and months and months. You're in the real the economy of Cushing being a boom and bust town is the reason why developers aren't coming to town. And we've had developers come to town. We've visited with several developers, tried to give them to come to town, tried to give them the land to develop. And it always goes back to the same thing. Cushing is a boom and bust town. The economy don't warrant it, don't warrant the revenue that we take. City runs the same way. Like I said earlier, you know, as commissioners, there's a fine line there that we have to walk, you know. We're to represent the people, and everybody can build dreams. I can say, well, you want it, who's going to pay for it? You know, I am a firm believer
I just need a little bit more time with
Sure.
you. If there is any questions that you feel that you would like to expand on, or that you felt that you didn't have quite enough time to fully answer, or maybe there might be something that you'd just like to discuss about being, you know, being a potential city commissioner again. Is there anything that you would like to touch on that you
we are. Right
Now, I get about an average of one phone call a day from somebody looking for a job. One company had 6 pulling units, all of them sitting in the yard 2 weeks ago. The price of the oil has repercussions that trickle down, especially in the town. Like Cushing. We are diversified in my business. We do other things, but the oil company, the sun is shining down there, and some of the positive things are there's a facility called Tall Oak that is just about through. Out south of town there. They're going to do some things that will be here on a permanent basis. There are lots of other good out here. Wouldn't it make more sense to refine some of it here? I've heard various numbers, 13 refineries in the early days. Somebody yesterday said 39. I don't think there were that many. But all those refineries are gone. And the main reason that most of them are gone, like the Hudson refinery and the Kerr-McGee refinery, is that they were outdated. They couldn't refine the oil as efficiently as some of the bigger ones did. So anyway, with that being said, there is a railroad coming up from down by Davenport. They've bought the old through here. I don't want to take up too much time. We already have discussed the water. The electric department. We will have a new substation. Well, the city would just buy that and store it, and when they needed it, then they already had it. Our generators work on, their dual fuel. They run on diesel. I know one time we had to buy $20,000 worth of diesel for that down there, and Kerry Siegel was still here. Oh, he just raised Cain. And Kerry, you got to look at the big picture, man. We're getting $1,400,000 from GRDA for being able to produce that. If we don't do it, they may not want to give us that allowance in the future. So our electric department is really in good shape there. The fact that we can do it. Where I was going with this is that because we couldn't get enough volume of gas, then we had to burn mostly diesel. Since I've been off the board, I've been told that they have increased the capacity of some of the gas lines. I believe it's Keystone Gas over at Drumride has run some bigger lines in there, so we can, and the gas is much cheaper to generate electricity on. Streets, yes, we need to spend. Mr. Manning made a comment that we spent $250,000 on our streets last year. We need to probably triple that. Fortunately, I've been sitting here, I had the opportunity to listen to the other commissioners in their summaries. How's our time doing, Joe? I have a few more minutes, okay. All right. We definitely need to improve our streets. They are, overall, they're going downhill. So we need to spend some more money and do some more on them. But the city has something in the neighborhood of $35 to $40 million in its various accounts. We're very fortunate in that effect. We don't have to go borrow money when we need to do something. We just budget it and spend it. And when you talk about spending the money, immediately after the election, they will start on planning the budget for the following year. And that is the time when the commissioners can say, well, I'd like to see some more spent on the streets, and so discuss it with the city manager and increase that street budget. I'm not going to take up too much more time here. Housing, I've already give you my thoughts on the housing. I think we do need to make it easier for people to build the houses. I was on the board when we voted to give someone the vacant lots that we had when we have to go in and tear down a house or something, then the city takes it over. And then we put a lien against it, and most of the owners never contest it, so the city winds up owning it. I think my time is up. There's probably, I could talk for another 30 minutes, but I'm going to be nice and turn it over to Brent here.
All righty, well, thank you very much. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Good evening.
Well, as I've explained to the other three, you're the last. I know these are strange.
They're not real comfortable, are they?
There's some strange bar stools, that's for sure. I've been shifting and I can't seem to get comfortable. As I explained to the other three candidates, if you want to expand on any of the questions that you were asked this evening, maybe get some more thought into them, or if you just like to talk about your why you're wanting to run for city commissioner, why you're wanting to be voted as city commissioner, some topics that you feel of importance.
There's really two things I'd like to kind of expound on. One of the things that we didn't spend a lot of time on, it was briefly discussed, and that's a comprehensive plan or a strategic plan. I believe the last one that was done, I believe, was 2008. Typically, those things run its course normally about every 5 years. And that is if they're taken off the shelf and relooked at on an annual basis. And that being said, I really feel like it's time that we did a new one. And the problem a lot of places have, and I'm not saying that Cushing did or it didn't. I've not been privy to this, but my experience, and we always did one with the chamber. I know a lot of businesses do a plan. Is that you need to make it a living, breathing document. It can't go on a shelf and collect dust. It has to be used. And I know Trace talked a little bit about this. You pull it out on a semi-annual basis. You take a look at it to see where you're at in terms of your goals, and you build a vision. And from this vision, everybody buys into. Pieces of it are, it may be that part of the vision is this, and another part of it, maybe I don't like part of it, but maybe part of it is something I feel very strongly about. It's a give and take kind of thing. But everybody has to buy into that vision. You create goals and objectives, and you create a time frame to accomplish those things. And you use that document. It becomes a part of your, not necessarily daily. Then it's much easier to get everybody headed in the same direction. You bring in the taxpayers. Who funds that? Taxpayers do. And you have to, I'm not saying that you have to do everything that they say to do, but I think you need that input because that's who we do all of this for. So 2 days, or we need at least 2 days to do that and to set up and develop a new comprehensive plan. The other thing I wanted to visit a little bit about was economic development. More money to put on a new product, if they need to hire more people, whatever it might be, there's dollars out there that developer knows about. and can help them with it. You know, it's really, if you boil down economic development, it's really one thing. It's job creation. That's sum total. Have to be used in the process that they do. Wouldn't it make sense for us to have an economic developer working with those terminals to find out what those products, to go to that product manufacturer and say, look, in Cushing, we've got 13 terminals that store 80 million barrels of oil, and they use your product. Wouldn't it make sense to expand to Cushing? Wouldn't it make sense to at least put some kind of a distribution center? And then we create jobs, not from going out and recruiting new industry, but helping those folks maybe buy that product for less amount because it's manufactured there. You cut your transportation costs out. Or it's shipped there and it's much easier to access it. But you've helped existing industry with something that's critical to them. The other thing that an economic developer does is work with entrepreneurs, people who want to start a new business, a mom and pop. How nice would it be if John and Jane Doe went down to the ED office and sat down, and he could direct them to the Small Business Development Center to do cost you money. It's not cheap to hire a developer, but I believe in Cushing we could create that program with a public-private partnership. The city with the community. Community with the other businesses, putting some money in, creating a 5-year program to see how it works. Fund it for 5 years, and then if it's going well, then carry it on. If it's not, disband it and go on. But you can't do it in a short period of time. It takes, if you're going out recruiting new industry. A crackerjack ED didn't have what we have, who does not have that existing industry base that we do. If you hire the right guy or gal, a strong economic development program with the help of the city, with the help of the business community, you form a strong board to work with, it can be done. I've seen it in smaller communities. I can tell you right now that one of the reasons I stayed here after I interviewed, I wanted to come back here. Is this community the prettiest community in the world? No, it's not. But it's got the best people I have ever run into. In 35 years of economic development, this is where I wanted to stay and retire. And that's the truth.